I made a video a while ago where I basically said that my advice to anyone who wants to wait until they're in their 30s to have kids is to get your fertility checked. And I had so many comments in varying degrees of sarcasm asking me how to do this. So here is how I would go about it if I was coming into this again, trying to get my fertility checked. And I'm not the expert on this. I'm sure there are people who can speak to this much better than I can. But what I will say to anyone who's saying that there's no way of doing this is that there are fertility specialists out there whose business it is to help you understand your fertility and help people who are having infertility issues get pregnant. So of course they will happily take your business if you go to them and say, hey, I just want to get checked out. So again, here's how I would do it. I would start off by calling my OB/GYN and I would just say, hey, look, my partner and I are hoping to wait a few more years to have kids, but we just want to get the lay of the land of fertility as of right now so we don't have any surprises when we're ready to have kids. Is that something that you can help with? They will either say yes or no. If they say no, find a local fertility clinic and call them up and see if you can go in. Yes, there may be a cost associated with it, but ultimately I think that's a choice that you have to make for your family of how valuable that information is to you if you do have any issues. In terms of how they would check your fertility, again, I'm not an expert. This is just what I think happens based on my experience, or what I would kind of ask for based on my experience. First of all, would be doing some kind of ultrasound to check your uterus. This was the problem that I had, is that I had a massive fibroid in my uterus, which was basically blocking me from getting pregnant. Thankfully, we found this before I was even trying. And I can't help but play out the scenario of if my husband and I had chosen to start tried for a year and then found this issue out. It then took me probably about a year to resolve that issue. So I then would have had to wait like 2 to 3 years to then actually be able to start trying and actually have a chance of getting pregnant, if you see what I mean. And that's the kind of perspective that I come from with all this, is that I had issues that I didn't even know about, and I'm so grateful that I found them before I needed to, if you see what I mean. The next thing is your egg count. I believe this is done via a simple blood test. There's a really great podcast episode with The Diary of a CEO on fertility. I found this podcast super fascinating. She talks about egg count, why it's valuable to know your egg count, all that jazz. Definitely watch that if you want to learn more. And then the next thing that I would check, if you can, is your partner's sperm situation and just making sure that everything's okay there. Again, this might be something that you have to pay for, and it might be something that you make a decision as a couple to say, look, this isn't something that we want to pay for. We're happy to just kind of like let fate take its course, and that's totally fine. But again, as someone who had an issue, who didn't know I had an issue, so clearly I have a bias, but I was really grateful to have found my issues again before I was actually trying. So I hope that helps. Again, contact your gynecologist. If that fails, contact a fertility specialist who I promise you will be very happy to at least give you a financial estimate of the cost associated with doing these checks. If any experts want to chime in the comments, please do. This is not my area of expertise. I'm just someone who, had a life experience and now just want to raise awareness of getting yourself checked out before you need to. I feel like it's better to have the knowledge and not need it than to need the knowledge and not have it. My 2 cents.